This is Sports Charlotte, the podcast about sports in Charlotte. My name is Herb White. I'm editor-in-chief of the Charlotte Post. This is Cameron Williams, who's a reporter at the Post. And we've been away for a week. Had some time in Savannah, Georgia.
They did.
Yeah, for the National Newspaper Publishers Association convention. Got some business done there, but back in town now.
Back like we never left.
Yeah. And talking about sports that happened and sports that are happening. And we can get started with the Charlotte Hornets and the NBA draft, opening of the free agent frenzy, on and on. Deals are getting done. Make some sense of it.
Oh boy, making sense of what happens in Charlotte sports. I thought it was a good draft. A lot of people were a little skeptical with the Conjecture pick, but if you start looking around, it just at other media outlets, and they do draft grades and things. The large majority thought the Hornets, did pretty well this draft. Conjecture, Liam McNeely, Sion James, Ryan Kalkbrenner. You addressed the need at center with Ryan Kalkbrenner. Defensively, Sion James is one of the, I'd say, top 10 to 15 players in the draft overall, and he was drafted the second round. When you talk about scoring, you get that with McNeely and Knipple. Knipple, best shooter in the draft, and there's no one that really can argue otherwise. More than 40% from deep. Almost 50% from the floor overall. So I'd give it around an A-. I think they addressed a lot of needs, but I also think what they're doing in free agency now is also addressing those needs. They ship Mark Williams off to get McNeely. Then they ship Yusuf Nurkic off, which leaves 6'9" Moussa Diabate holding down the center position. But according to this guy, that's just fine because Bill Russell, and he loves him some Bill Russell. That's what we were talking about before the pod.
All Bill Russell did was win a lot, but
against nobodies.
That's a see. Let's just keep it moving before this thing devolves into something that neither of us will like.
At any rate, they're getting more guys at the center position. So overall, like I said, A-. What would you give it, and what were your initial thoughts? Because, hey, this guy predicted Conjecture way before anybody else did. I thought it would have been an interesting pick that high, but as he kept rising up the draft boards, I'm like, Herb might be on something.
Of course. Absolutely. And
so humble.
You don't have to be humble when you're right. But anyway, the draft, yeah, Knipple I can see because the Hornets were not necessarily that great offensively last year or over the last 3 years for that matter because they lack shooting and shooting in volume. And the thing that we've seen with the NBA is everybody's in love with three-point shooting. The Hornets didn't necessarily have that in terms of accuracy. Now, you could throw a bunch of bricks, but that's not going to help any. So Knipple, I think, is a good fit. And where it comes in after that, the other issue I think that they had is defense. And I'm not sure that those four rookies will be able to fix that.
The second round, I think so. Now, I mean, a lot of experts, analysts tend to think Sion James, this might be a G League year for him.
Mm-hmm. I don't think all four of those guys are going to make the opening night roster. That's just me, though.
Ooh, okay.
Not all four.
You're not taking a guy at 4 and him not making an impact. I'm not saying start.
No. I'm saying Knipple will, but those other three,
I think McNeely and Kalkbrenner will. I mean, unless you're planning on making more moves for another center. I know they just got Mason Plumlee back, but really? I mean, put my Duke bias aside, really?
I'm just saying, all four of them, I would seriously doubt will make the opening night roster in Charlotte. Somebody will probably wind up in Greensboro opening night. Now, who that is, I don't know.
Oh, you're talking about all four collectively.
All
Yeah.
four. Not the number 4 pick. All 4.
I thought you were saying all 4 wouldn't make the. I'm like, wait a minute.
No. All 4 will not be on the opening night
I think
roster.
it'll be Sion James and possibly McNeely if they're sending 2 to Greensboro. But I don't think they drafted Kalkbrenner with the intent, unless he's just not performing well in workouts in the summer league and things like that. I don't think they drafted a 7-1 guy who has great defensive abilities, very long, lengthy, can really alter shots. I don't think they drafted him to send him to Greensboro.
Yeah, I would think that defense will get you a pass in Charlotte right now, especially if you're a 4 or a 5. So I don't have any issues with that, but you have to be able to either light it up on offense or
shut it down
on defense.
Yeah.
And so if you're somewhere in the middle, they're either going to develop you in Greensboro or do some up and down between Charlotte and Greensboro.
Well, I'll be honest. I think McNeely is probably the one that's right in the middle on both sides of the offensive defense argument. Sion James' defense at times last year on Duke's team, he was the best defender. And I know Cooper Flagg gets all the accolades and the most steals per game, blocks, blah blah blah. On ball defense, Sion James was really, really tough to match up against in any one-on-one scenario, and he could switch too. He could guard really 1 through 4 with confidence, and I mean it's thick and as built as he is. He's not going to intimidate anybody height-wise at 6'6", 6'7", but he's a really hard guy to move. I'll just say that. He's built like a linebacker.
Or maybe a Grant Williams, that bulldog defensively.
He's more built than Grant was. Grant is a good defender, and he's got some girth, which I know he's kind of flown under the radar. Having him back will be nice for the Bugs. But anyway, my point being is, as far as just brute strength, Sion he's up there. But at the end of the day, I think he'll be in Greensboro. I think Con and Ryan are surefire locks to make the roster. McNeely's still up in the air. But they also just got Colin Sexton.
Mm-hmm.
This was a move that I was kind of happy to see them make.
Because of the scoring?
Because of the scoring, the facilitating, and just... I think this allows LaMelo to play a little bit more free. I don't want to say he was handcuffed, but I think to some degree he was forced to be that facilitator. I mean, if you're a point guard, you're asked to facilitate, but he's a scorer. I don't think at heart LaMelo is a pass-first point guard, and I think adding in Colin will maybe take some of that burden off of him and let him score a little bit more. So I like the move a lot. And you got a pick with that just for Yusuf Nurkic.
Mm-hmm.
No diss on Nurkic, but for once the Hornets got the good end of a deal.
Well, after all these years, I guess even a blind hog can find an acorn. But
wouldn't that be Black Squirrel?
That too.
But at any rate, time to shift attention to the Summer League.
Mm-hmm.
Schedule's out. Ironically enough, Colin Sexton won't be playing in the Summer League, but the Hornets do face the Utah Jazz, the 76ers, the Mavericks, and the Spurs. All 3 teams that were above Charlotte in the draft, in the first team right below them.
Mm-hmm.
Could you say scripted?
Yeah, I would think that the NBA just said, well, it might be fun just to see what those first 4 teams in the draft would have in terms of their rookie classes.
Will Ace Bailey be there on July 11th?
That's a good question. And even at that, how much time will a team like the Mavericks invest in putting Cooper Flagg on the floor against a bunch of other rookies or guys who are just trying to find a lifeline into the NBA? You've invested so much in him. he's not going to be your typical rookie. So how much floor time is he going to get? Or as if you're talking about the Hornets, how much floor time will they invest in their rookies? I think that would be a totally different scenario. It's like, well, as bad as we are, we need to see who can actually play.
Yeah, with the Cooper Flag thing, it's like you look a few years ago, and when Paolo Banchero, Holmgren, and Jabari Smith went 1 through 3, I know they played Banchero a good bit in the summer league, or the Magic did. So it's, do you want to risk injuring your prized possession? I guess that is the number one question for any of these teams, really. I mean, Philadelphia, how much are they going to play Edgecombe? Dallas, how much are they going to play Cooper? San Antonio, obviously, Wembanyama's not going to be playing, but do you play Stephon Castle, who won Rookie of the Year last year?
But that also comes